guys, welcome to the review show. My name's Austin. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny stars Harrison Ford, and this is the 5th final film in the Indiana Jones franchise. Indiana Jones races against time to retrieve a legendary dial that can change the course of history. Accompanied by his granddaughter, he soon finds himself squaring off against Jules Voller, a former Nazi who works for NASA. It's finally here. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is something I've been looking forward to all year. Hell, I did even a series review on the channel leading up to this movie. Man, I was so excited for this film, and when the movie got even closer, I got worried because the reviews came out. I haven't even looked at any reviews of the movie, but I looked at the numbers, and so when the numbers were mid, I'm like, oh gosh, that's not looking too good. And since I also work at a movie theater, and I was like, keeping an eye on the pre-sales, and the pre-sales were quite low for this movie. So that my expectations were kind of like all jumping over the place, but I was having hope for the film to be great. And it's good. It's better than Crystal Skull. I would rather watch this over Crystal Skulls, but it's not a satisfying conclusion to the franchise. I still had fun with the movie. The movie was well directed. James Mangold directed this movie very well. This was a very well done from him. Nothing I can fall on him. He didn't write the film, unless he did, but I don't think, from my knowledge, he did. He might have had some writing credit to it, but overall, he did a great job from directing. Harrison Ford, back as Indiana Jones, fantastically well done. It's like he never left the role. He brought so much charisma back to this character, and playing it from being an 80-year-old dude, holy hell, and doing some of the stunts. I know some of the stunts in here are CGI, but there's also a couple practical stuff in the film as well. Holy cow, you can retire off. This is not a terrible film to retire off on. This is a good send off to the character for sure. It's not a great send off. I would have liked it to be a lot better. But you know what, Indiana Jones, seeing Harrison Ford do all these classic Indiana Jones stuff was very well done, and they kind of even show a broken side of Indiana Jones. There's some history that goes on with Indiana that kind of that somewhat sort of drives the story, but also doesn't drive the story. I wanted to see more of that. They talk about for 2 scenes. There's 2 scenes that they talk about where Indy is at in life, and it's never kind of brought up. It's never a driving force at all in the movie. It's supposed to be, but it doesn't feel like it at all. By the end of the film, it's kind of hand waved. It's hey, this is what happened to, and so it's just I would have liked to see more of that. And but we kind of focus more on Indy's past friend that he used to have during this one mission back in 1939 when the Nazis were going on, which this young CGI stuff, that stuff looked great. That was very well done. It really puts it really shows that Gemini Man movie with Will Smith. It really just destroys that CGI movie, and some other movies that tried to do digital de-aging stuff. It looked great. There's maybe a couple scenes that that looked off. The only thing that really stood out to me with the young Indy stuff is that it didn't sound like a young Indiana Jones. It sounded like a 80-year-old Harrison Ford. That's what it sounded like, and they should have did whatever to make him sound a little bit younger, put a little bit more effects into that. But overall, all that stuff was great. I love that. That's pretty much all the positives. It's not like there's no other positives, but those are the great positives I had. Everything else is okay, or just I got it sort of pissed off, a tiny bit pissed off. Everything the story, for example, is okay. Indiana Jones discovering that, hey, there is somewhat of a form of time travel. That is a cool idea. I mean, a lot of time travel can get messy. And I'm not one of those people that completely hate time travel. I like time travel. I think you could do some interesting stuff, but it can get messy when you do it too much. But time travel can be a lot of fun. And it's like by the third act, when things start happening, it's kind of just like, it's kind of like anticlimactic. I'm like, oh, it's like, okay, well, I mean, you're leading to something really cool, but okay, no, all right, that's fine. Mads Mikkelsen as the villain, I love this dude. Like, he's a fantastic actor. I think he's always like the actor that gets picked to do the villain stuff, but he does great in the film as well. I think he might be top third villain of the franchise, I guess. If I had to rank the villains, it'd probably be Last Crusade, Temple of Doom, then him, and Raiders would be the last one. Raiders didn't really have a villain at all, near as Last Crusade, but you know, there was a lot of different type of dramas going on with the villains that kind of driven that film. And here, there was some of that, but not really that much. And you can feel intimidation between Mads Mikkelsen and Indiana Jones, because you know, back in like the young Indiana Jones in that 1939 stuff, he kind of screwed over Mads Mikkelsen, and he kind of had some revenge-ish against Indiana Jones. He hates him. He doesn't necessarily want revenge, but he just hates him with a passion kind of deal. And he just kind of they end up in the same paths at some point later down the line. Helena, that's played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, she did really well from a performance standpoint, but her character is just a complete asshole. Like, she is like, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say what her to describe her character without giving things away, but she does things where it's just like, she just screws over Indiana Jones. And she's sort of also a money person. So everything that she's doing is just for money. So she's another Mike from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So she's another that type of character, but she's a little bit better than Mike. She has a little bit more of a better story narrative than Mike, because he just goes back and forth, and he's like, okay, whoever pays the most, I'll be friends with them or whatever. She is just like, you know what, I know Indiana Jones because you knew my father, and we just end up, you know, crossing paths, or I needed you for something, and now I'm just kind of being a dick to you for no reason. Like, she is a complete dick to him for no reason throughout the film. I'm like, why are you being an ass? It's like, is there going to be some conflict being built up to something? But no, it goes nowhere, and she's nice to, and she wants to save him by the end of the film. I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense. I mean, like, yeah, he does save her a couple times throughout the film, but that's like, there's no connection to her, her change of tone. It's one thing if you start as a dick at the beginning. It's like, okay, she has one reasoning, but by the end of the film, she has a different motive. Like, that's understandable. That's called a character arc. Yes, but she doesn't, there's no in between of that. And she also has a tag-along young short round character that is literally just a rip-off short round, who doesn't do anything in the film besides cause a little bit of drama and be a little whiny brat, and also somehow flies a plane when he doesn't know how to fly a plane through a very dangerous storm that is happening, and he's just doing perfectly fine. I don't hate this movie. I think it's top 4, obviously, best Indiana Jones film. It's easily the best out of Crystal Skull. But this is just, it's just, I don't know. I feel more of a Disney vibe from this movie than an Indiana Jones vibe. Like, there is there is blood once again in this movie. Like, there's some scenes where there's blood. I praise Disney for doing that, but it's like, when you look at the story itself, it feels very Disney-ish, and it's like, well, they're just trying to recapture that magic that the original 3 had, but doing it sort of lazily. And so, but that's also what happens when you also bring on writers from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. You kind of get the same feeling of that. It was a fun time. It was a fun time. I don't think you should go out and see it right away. If you have the time and you want to go see it with friends, you're gonna have a good time. But by the end, it's just not really satisfying enough. But for an Indiana Jones movie, it is pretty good. But it's not disappointing. I'm just more. I do have to see it again to get more of a better understanding of how I feel personally about the movie. But the movie itself is a fun action movie. It's a great adventure, but there are story bits that don't necessarily work in the film. We give Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny a B-. Go check it out if you have the time, or if you're a huge Indiana Jones fan, I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy it. If you guys are new, hit that subscribe button, but also stick around to the channel. Keep an eye on those notifications, because I will be also doing a spoiler review for this movie with Sean O'Rourke. Be expecting that review to come up on Monday morning. We're going to plan on recording it soon. But yeah, and also go check out the other Indiana Jones reviews I've done. This has been a fun journey. It's had its ups and it was rough with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but it does in the series, I believe, for me, ends in a good way. But I was really happy to see Harrison Ford back in the role for one last time. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and like always, I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye.